All right. Welcome, guys. This is Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to take their brands to the next level. I am your host, Junior Frederick, and I have with me my co host, Mr. Bobby Stealth. And today we're going to be getting into it. Number one, if you're live, put some flames in the chat. And number two, of course, let us know where you're listening in from. Bobby, what's up? How you doing on this phenomenal Friday?
Man, I am incredible, Junior. Phenomenal, amazing, absolutely ecstatic. And the reason I'm all of those things is because I'm doing the work. And just like you, if you're doing the work, you're going to get the results. So I'm feeling amazing because the process works. The right information, when worked, works. And sometimes we can overthink it. Like sometimes we can be too smart. Like if you ever do you remember being a teenager, bro? Like our parents would tell us simple stuff, and then we were like, nah, it can't be that easy. She don't know what she's talking about. Mom, dad doesn't know what he's talking about. And then we grow up and we hit our head against the wall, and then we think back to what mom said or what dad said, and then we say to ourselves, well, let me try it. Let me try it. And we try it and get results. Guys, we're going to give you some insights today, some incredible advice. And it's going to be so simple. But if you trust us and you do exactly what we say, you'll come back with results. It's been tried and true, tested every time we do a challenge. People go, execute, come back with testimonies. And we want you guys to do the same. So pay attention to today's topic. Enjoy yourselves. Get your coffee. Enjoy your ride to work. Because what me and Junior have in store for you guys this morning is game changer. 1000%. How about you, Junior? How you feel?
I feel indestructible. Feel indestructible. No, really, I feel absolutely amazing, brother. I feel amazing. And today is one of my favorite topics, actually. In fact, I think we should just get right into it. I feel like we just came from a break, even if we haven't had our first break yet. So let's just jump right in. Today, guys, we're gonna be talking about the skill, and I really do mean the skill, the art, and the science. So what is an art? An art is subjective, meaning that the art is art in the eyes of the artist. So the art is art in the eyes of the artist, but then you also have the science. So science is just the nuts and bolts. So science is agnostic, so it doesn't matter who you are, the science is the science. So we're going to be getting into the art and also the science of high ticket sales. So, guys, if you're in sales, which everybody is, if you're a business owner, then you definitely want to grab a pen, grab a notepad, grab something, because what is written will be retained. We're going to get into high ticket sales. We're going to be talking about saying your price with confidence, but also we might just be getting into the art of closing the deal. And I'm sure, guys, we have a lot of insight. I know I have a lot of insight. I know Bobby does as well.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, Bobby, let's jump right in. I'm going to let you take the lead on this one. Kick us off with a good question, and let's jump right into it.
Excellent. Excellent. So I want to preface this by saying I know what you're thinking. You're at your job. You're a skilled professional, the best at what you do, and you've been doing it for years. And you're thinking to yourself, how can I get more compensation for the value that I'm creating? You see everybody around you, the organization, lights are on, building is big, they're flying you all over the place, they're giving you phones and laptops, they're paying for all this stuff. And you know this stuff costs money, and you're thinking to yourself, like, I just got finished consulting all around the world. I just came back and haven't seen my family in 2 weeks because I'm traveling and I'm hustling and bustling for this organization, and they're paying me six figures a year. But off of the work that I'm doing, they're earning 2.5 million, 3 million, 10 million. But I'm the one doing all the work. See, the art of high ticket sales is really the art of knowing your worth. And the reason you guys are watching this right now is because you know your worth and you don't feel like you're getting it right now. You're trying to find out how. Can you get more of what you're generating, more of the value you're creating? How can more of that come to your family? How can you, why am I working all these hours, went and got all these degrees, but I'm still not getting the monetary compensation that's leading to income impact and the independence that I know that I deserve? This is because high ticket sales has not been the thing you've wrapped your head around. But we're about to give you the keys. So, Junior, my first question for us to just open up and dive into this. Do you remember the first price point that you said, and then the first time you said that price with a zero? Like, do you remember when you said, $500, and then was surprised when they paid it? And then do you remember when you said five figures, and then they said, that's it? Can you talk about that a little bit? And then I'll share my experience as well.
Yeah, Bobby. I mean, absolutely. The first, I guess, high ticket. What you consider high ticket deal I did was, I think about 6K. It's about 6K. 6K is high ticket. It's not extremely high, but we consider high ticket to be anything above 5K. Anything above 5K is technically high ticket. So my first high ticket deal was about 6K. It was the first weekend I started closing. It was a January. It was a January a couple years ago. I remember it like it was yesterday. When I said 6K, um, I just sort of held my breath, like, okay, 6K, what would you like to do? I sort of held my breath, and then they said, okay. I said, yeah, let's do it. I said, yeah, yeah. I said, okay. I was like, okay, this was a little bit easier than I thought. And Bobby, there's a certain fear. I want to talk about the emotional part of the deal as well. Like when you're just getting started, there's a certain fear. Now, this is so important. And write this down. All objection to price is based on the psychology of the seller, not on the psychology of the buyer. So it means that when you go to state your price, you can either project your fear or project your confidence on the buyer. But the buyer is agnostic. The buyer is just the buyer. The buyer is like fire. The same fire that you cook your food with can also burn the forest. The fire can be used for good, it can be used for bad. The buyer is very similar. Like, you have to create the value. But oftentimes when we are amateurs, and there's nothing wrong with being an amateur, everybody starts as an amateur. I was an amateur once. We project our fears on the buyer. And so I was like, 6K. But then at the back of my mind, I was like, oh, that's that's pretty tough, and then the buyer would react accordingly, right? So I started noticing that, hey, you can say whatever price you want, but to the extent that you are confident, the buyer will be confident. And you could write that down. So number one rule in sales, you can only sell to the extent that you are sold. And the buyer will only be confident to the extent that you are confident, meaning that you either project your fear or you project your confidence on the buyer. Now, let's fast forward into the future. So when I put a zero on the back of that, I did a 60K deal. It was literally the same thing. It was like going through a cycle. So from 6K to 60K, I said, okay, 60K, what would you like to do? Now, at that point, I was a little more confident, but still, for me, I was like, 60K, that's a lot. In the back, like subconsciously, I'm thinking that's a lot. But then to them, it was like, okay, let's go. So I'm like, okay, it's not really that much. I mean, and Sean has this, if you join Branded Like a Leader, Sean has something called Monkey Mind versus Money Mind. And by the way, you could get that on www.seanrice.com. Go to the Sean Rice shop. I think it costs like $49,
Yeah.
49.99, something like that. But very, very low ticket. You can get that and you could understand, more in depth about what I'm talking about. But we project the monkey mind based on what we think about money. So if you think it's a lot, the buyer perceives it to be a lot. If you present it as a lot, the buyer perceives it and they receive it to be a lot. But you'll be surprised, like when you create value, when you solve real problems and create real value, you begin to realize that money is just money. There's no difference between closing a 6K deal and a 60K deal. There's literally no difference. No extra energy, no extra brain power, no different strategy. It's literally the same thing. But the difference is the seller, which is you. That's the main difference.
You know, I love something you said here, Junior, and I wrote this down. You can only sell to the degree that you are sold. And another component to that is the confidence piece that he also talked about. So many of you all are very confident at what you do. Very confident. Like when you show up to your job and you sit down and you're either crunching numbers or you're counseling or you are consulting or you're doing all of these different things. If you were in the military and you're running and gunning, like you're very, very confident in what you're doing and you do it at a very high level, right? When you were in your doctorate program, when you were in your master's program, you were very confident in your ability to execute on the knowledge that you consume. So what's very important about confidence is confidence comes from competence, guys. Confidence comes from competence. And the reason most people are working in jobs that they hate but appreciate is because they're not confident in their ability to make more money without the job. So they haven't yet sold themselves on the ability that they can take their services, their education, experience, and expertise, and they can take that direct to consumer. And in order to do this, like when we said we were going to give you the secrets, like we're going to give you the secrets. In order to do that, to go, okay, I'm in my cubicle and I don't want to be here, but I'm very thankful that I've got a job and I'm very thankful that I've been here for a while and I'm really good at what I do. Like it's not about not having gratitude. It's about having gratitude, but understanding that your attitude toward yourself says, I want more and you do deserve it. So now you come to this realization within yourself and you're like, what's next? So in order to go from there, from where you are, which is working in the job that you're extremely skilled at, to getting into business for yourself and building the ideal business around your ideal life, what this transition looks like is competence stacking, skill stacking. So the first skill that I learned in order to make this transition was branding. And the reason I needed to learn branding was because the thing that most of our organizations are doing for us that we haven't figured out how to do for ourselves is find work for us to do. Think about that. Think about that. Like the only thing that your job is doing for you that you have not yet figured out how to do to take your skills directly to the consumer is how to find work. In other words, leads. So in the military, they find the wars for me. They go and tell me where I need to be and what I need to do. They find it for me. If I'm leading in the military, they bring the Marines to me or the soldiers to me and they tell me to lead them. In your situation, if you have a caseload or if you're in the finance space and you've got a bunch of client accounts, the organization's one of its biggest responsibilities that you've yet to figure out is how to get work. But you know how to do the work. So all you have to figure out how to do is get work to do. And you get work by having a brand that tells people what you do. Now, we say brand you, not what you do. The reason we say this is because you are far more valuable than what you do. When it comes to high ticket sales, everybody that I know that is doing high ticket successfully is doing so with a personal brand, because the person is pretty much saying, you can trust me to do this work effectively. That's what the personal brand is helping the person understand. The personal brand says, hey, my name is Bobby Jackson, the explosive growth CFO. Or, hey, my name is Junior Frederick, the direct marketing consultant. Or, hey, my name is Joel Smith. Or, hey, my name is Michelle D. Clark. And this is what I do. But you start with your name. Because when you start with your name and you build personal brand leadership in your industry and market, what you're doing is you are attracting your work. I want to help you guys transition your mindset. So what you will need to do in order to turn your skills into money is convince people that need your skill set that you're the type of person that can get it done. So what has your organization done? Your organization has built a brand. It says, hey, let's say you work for Deloitte. Deloitte is a consulting organization. Deloitte says, I'm Deloitte. I've been around for this many years. I've helped this many companies, and we know how to get people results. So what do people do? They trust the Deloitte brand. And because they trust the Deloitte brand, they say, here's my work. Here's my problem. Solve it. What does Deloitte do? The same thing that your organization does. They take this large course load and they drop it on your desk. And they drop it on your desk. And guess what? You do the work. So the only difference between you being able to charge the prices that Deloitte charges is having a brand that people know and trust. So the first thing that I learned was branding like a leader. So when I branded myself like a leader, I pretty much said, you can trust Bobby to do the work. And then guess what? They put work on my desk and said, deliver. And guess what I did? What I've been doing for the past 12 years. I just did the work and they paid me for it. So here's the thing that I want you guys to think about. How strong is your brand? How strong is it? Because the strength of your brand is going to determine the amount of people that are lining up to give you their problems. I want you to have zero doubt about your ability to deliver because you've been doing what you do for 30 plus years, 20 plus years, 10 plus years. You should have no doubt in your ability to do it. All the doubt resides in what Junior was talking about. Confidence, being sold yourself so that you can go sell others. And the reason most people aren't selling right now is because they don't trust themselves. And you don't trust yourself because you don't know yourself. And the origin brand story is where you begin to figure out who you are. And as you figure out who you are, you're going to realize all the work that you've done to become that person. And as you discover that and you put that on display, you put the world on notice and you let them know where you've been, who you are, where you come from, and you give them a reason to trust you, what you've been doing for the past 10, 20, 30 years is muscle memory. All you need is the work. So as I ask Junior the next question, I'll tell you guys very briefly, extremely briefly, what mine looked like. My first sale was $500, $500 a month. And I said that number a little shaky. But as I went through the different courses and I obtained different skills and I stacked those skills, I came into the market and I've been able to say 120,000 for the year. And guess what? They paid it happily. So Junior, my next question for you is, as someone that's closed big deals, multiple six-figure deals, I've had conversations with you about your deals and the degree to which you've closed. I'd like to know from your perspective, how has your brand, your personal brand, affected your ability to close those deals? Were you closing bigger deals as your brand became more clear to you, or is there no correlation?
No, there's a complete correlation. So this is like I want everybody to let's imagine an imaginary line for now. Let's imagine a line, and it's like a scale. So on one end you have a zero, on another end you have 100. Now, like I said before, to the degree that you are sold, you can sell. In other words, if you're 50, if your potential is, let's say, $1 million, and you're 50 on that scale, you're not gonna sell $1 million because you're not on the other end of that scale.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have a program for 50K, but you only end up selling like 15K or something like that.
Right.
Equally, to the degree that you are clear, you will be confident. So I've never seen somebody sell something that wasn't clear on what they're doing. It's not even, it's like a cognitive dissonance. Like, it's not even possible. If you're not clear, how can you offer clarity to the prospect or to the client? It doesn't happen. So Bobby, there is an absolute correlation. I'm going to say, to the degree that you are clear, you can provide clarity and you can sell.
Mm.
Okay. When you close high ticket, it's all about providing clarity to the client and giving them a clear path for how they can achieve their goal using your service. If you're not clear yourself, you will not offer clarity. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So you cannot give somebody something that you don't have. So you have to absolutely be clear. And how do you get clear? You get clear by doing the work. That's how you get clear. You get clear from being in the trenches, from actually doing the work. When I get on a call with somebody and I say, okay, this is what you need to do, this is how you do it, this is what you can expect, this is what I'm gonna do, and this is what I expect from you. I'm crystal clear. Why? Because I've done it at least 20 times. I've achieved the same result over and over again. And I am 100% certain that I can give it to them because I've done it before. I've a proven track record of delivering this specific result. So when I say to somebody, hey, I can help you to get this, I am 100% confident, 100% clear on how to get there, and 100%, just convicted that I can get them the result because I've done it before. That's like asking me, somebody coming to me and say, "Hey, Junior, can you help me launch a brand?" That's like asking me to go downstairs and get a glass of water. That's literally the way I see it. That's like me going downstairs getting a glass of water. That's it. That's how confident I am because I've done it several times and I'm doing it again today. So to the degree that you are clear, you will sell. That's it. There's this 100%. And Bobby, let me tell you something. The reason why people sort of you get shaken up, like when you sort of have that low confidence because you're not clear. You're not clear on how exactly your solution is gonna take that person to where they need to go. So yeah, you may say $500 a month, or you may say $1,000 a month, but in the back of your mind, okay, there's still little areas in the service or in the product that I'm not 100% clear of, and I still have to sort of figure out. So then you're a little bit shaky. That's the only reason why. But if you know for 100% fact that if this person follows step one, step two, step three, they'll get to step five, then I don't see how it's possible for you to that's like everybody put it in a chat. Everybody, you have a supermarket, I suppose, in your area, right? You have somewhere where you buy groceries, right? Everybody does. Like, to me, coming to me and asking me about something that I sell is like asking me how to get to the grocery store.
Hmm.
How
Yeah.
do I get to the grocery store? Well, you just go down the road here, you turn at this left, you do this, you do that. So when you ask me how do I launch a brand, I tell you this is exactly what you need to do. You do this first. We find the ideal client, then we do this, then we do that, then we do this, then we do that, and boom, boom, boom. After 60 days, if you do everything I tell you, then you'll have a brand. That's like asking me how to get to the grocery store. That's how simple it is. So if you
Yeah.
don't have that level of clarity, like one plus one is two, two plus two is four, that's why you're gonna be a little bit, shaky when you say your price, because there's still something in the product that you have not settled or figured out. So I would say spend time getting clarity, because as long as you have that clarity, that's where you become bulletproof as a salesperson. That's where no objection. Let's talk about objections, Bobby. My last calls, I had zero objection, no objection. I know the last time I did an objection because you handle all the objections because you've already been there before.
Hmm.
Like, there's no objection you can give me that I wouldn't know how to handle. And through the sales process, hopefully we have some time to get into that.
Yeah.
I handle every single objection before the objection comes up. So at the end of the sale, if I do have an objection, it's not more than one or two. Very rarely do I get. Back in the day, I used to get objections, but when you sell in a particular way, you don't have any objections. It's all about either they have it or they don't, and that's it. There's no objection.
Junior, I love what you said about clarity and what you said about objection. So before we move into the objection space, I'm going to actually write that down so that I don't forget that's where we're going. Guys, this is never scripted. Like, and we don't script so that you know how authentic we are and also how real we are. Like, we really do this. This is completely unscripted. So what I'm going to go into before we hit the objections is what Junior was saying earlier about clarity. So you need forms of clarity in my experience. You need clarity on yourself before you can get clarity on what you do. right? Clarity on who you are is the first step. Now, why is this so important? Because your company, your organization, where you're working or where you're leaving, where you just left, they were super clear on who they are. And because they're clear on who they are, guess what? They were clear on who they hire. I'm about to break you guys' mind in a good way. Like I'm about to like snap it and you're gonna be like, oh, it's that easy. Oh, I got it. I got it. So check this out, guys. When you got hired at your organization, you went through an interview process. The interview process that you went through was checking who you were as a person, how you handle confrontation and conflict with others, and if you were competent enough to do the work. Like who you are, your skill set, are you confident, are you competent, and how do you work well with others? Those are some of the core things every interview process has. What they're looking for are two things. They're looking for how well you will align with the company's morals, values, and principles, and if you can do the work that they give you. When you remove the business, the organization that you work for, and you go straight to consumer, you have to do that. So when we teach brand it like a leader, brand it like a leader is you understanding your organization's morals, values, and principles so you can hire yourself. Can you imagine that? You're self-employed now, but you still have to do what the employer did. You have to interview you. So brand it like a leader is who you are, what you do, why you do it, when you do it best. You're interviewing yourself when you go through brand it like a leader. And when you go through the interview process, you're evaluating your skill set, your 3 E's, your income, your impact, or excuse me, your education, experience, and expertise. So when you're interviewing yourself, you're looking at your skill set and you're looking at the morals and values and principles of the brand that you're working for, which is yourself. Most people don't have clarity on their brand. So if you don't have clarity on you, you can't hire yourself effectively. So most people are working for terrible bosses and they're the boss because you didn't go through the hiring process. And if you don't go through the hiring process, you're not going to be confident giving that employee work. So imagine if someone just hired you on, but you didn't go through an interview process. You're probably going to be the last person to get the work. To think of it in an even simpler way, let's say there's a team of 5 people that play basketball. If 4 of those people work well together and they play on a team and then they needed one extra guy and then they were like, hey, we need one extra guy so we can play. And then you start playing with them. Like in this scenario, you're probably not going to get the ball that much. You're not going to get that much engagement. They're not going to trust you with the ball because they're going to be like, it's us 4 and we can run this thing and you're just here as a placeholder. That's how many of you all are treating your business. You're a placeholder in your own company. You're a placeholder in your company because you're still stuck in corporate. And corporate says, this is how you do it, this is how you do it, this is how you do it, and we do it this way. So you're still doing things their way. But when you do brand it like a leader, you say, this is my way. These are my morals, my values, my principles. And based on how I like to do business, this is the person I would hire. And then you hire yourself and you take a look at your education, experience, and expertise, and you chart out the income you want, the impact you want, and you define what independence means to you. And that's when we say turn your 3 E's into the 3 I's. So if you're going to be successful in business and scaling your organization, you have to be able to hire yourself. But you can't hire yourself without what Junior said. And that's having clarity on the organization that you're hiring yourself to be a part of. You're hiring yourself to be a part of your brand. Like you're literally saying, I'm worth it. You're literally saying, I'm betting on me. You're literally saying, I'm the one. But you got to find out who you are. And once you figure out who you are, you've established the face of the organization, the brand, the personal brand. And then you hire yourself, your skill set. And then you put the brand out there to do its job, which is to bring you people. If you're super clear on your brand, then you are 1000% clear on your ability to execute the work. So as people come to your brand, we teach you to attract your ideal client. The work part is easy. And if the work is easy and the brand is clear, saying the biggest number that you can think of is extremely ethical as long as you deliver. So that's what I wanted to hit on, because when you do this properly, the objections disappear. They disappear because you are more confident in your ability to solve their problem than they are in your ability not to solve it. So objections normally come from people's hesitation and fear. But if you are sold 1000% that your brand is good, then you know you attracted the right person. If you're sold 1000% that you've been doing what you do for the past 10, 20, 30 years, you're 1000% sold on your ability to do the work. And if you have those two things, then saying the number becomes easy. When I told you guys this is simple, it is simple. But nobody does this alone. I didn't build my own website. That guy did it. Well, he had a big part in it. He had a very big part in it. And he got me super clear. And as I went through that clarity process, I started making more and more money. So I'm sure we're probably going to go to a break. But when we get back, we're going to dive right into objections directly in.
The difference between sales and closing, I get this all of the time, guys. Closing is elegant. Closing is luxurious. Closing is the most profitable. Sales, high pressure tactics. No one associates car sales, right? The sleazy sales tactics with closing, because closing is elegant. Closing is excellent. You have to be a professional in order to close deals. Listen, when you do this the right way, when you learn what we're going to teach you in here, your clients will be trying to close you. And they won't let you close them for low numbers. So you'll be able to heighten, increase your profitability, increase your visibility, increase your reach, and increase your impact in the marketplace. And be confident and comfortable charging higher prices than you ever thought possible to the right people who can actually pay for them and then say thank you for closing them. So when you're young, mommy tells you to play nice. Play nice, Timmy. Let all of the other kids play too. But in business, it's not about playing nice. In business, it's about winning. It's about adding multiple zeros to your revenue. Now, of course, your staff wins. And when you win, other people win. However, when it comes to competition, you absolutely must dominate. You can't play for participation, and you can't play just to get along or just to get by, because business is serious. Business will help you to change the world, or the world will change you. Your people will either win or your people will lose based on your level of leadership, what you're willing to do, what you're willing to sacrifice, and how much you know about dominating.
What up, guys? So welcome back. We're talking about the art and science of closing. Bobby, I think you wanted to get into objections. So
Yeah.
what are we getting into, man? What we get into the art of handling objections?
Yeah.
Let's talk about what even is an objection, and where do objections come from?
That's
So
great.
number one, not everything is an objection. So some things we call a complaint. So there's a difference between an objection and a complaint. An objection is something real. Like somebody being in the hospital is an objection. It's true. It's an actual objection to the ability of being able to participate in whatever you're selling. If somebody says something like, I need to think about it, that's just a complaint. You don't need to think about it. People don't need to think about it. I tell people all the time, when people say I need to think about it, I say, well, okay. But if you really think about it, you realize that there is no real way to make an informed decision without being on the inside of something. You can't really think about something on the outside. You can only think on the inside. Does that make sense? Even if you think about a program, you don't have the information to think about it. So that's just a complaint. When you come into the program and you experience it, then you have the context to know whether or not the program works. But until then, there is no point in thinking about something. If it's something you want to do, then you just need to do it. And if you get on the inside and you like it, you made a great decision. If you get on the inside and you don't like it, then you need to get your money back. But let's get into it. So an objection is actually something that is real. It's based in truth. A complaint is something that is not based in truth. You as the salesperson needs to be able to recognize when you're getting an actual objection and when somebody is giving you a complaint.
Right.
Okay, now how do you handle objections? You handle objections by asking questions, by being a master communicator. What is a master communicator? And I have to shout out one of my mentors here. One of my mentors is a guy named Andy Elliott when it comes to sales. Andy Elliott taught me what it is to be a master communicator. Master communicator means you make it easy to say yes, you make it difficult to say no, and then you make it the prospect's idea every single time. Let me say that again. You make it easy to say yes, difficult to say no, and then you make it the prospect's idea every single time. The way you handle objections is by number one, telling the truth. So it goes back to my truism, Bobby, my truth theory. It goes back to my truth theory. So you handle objections by number one, just telling the truth, telling the prospect the truth. But also you can be a mentor. You can coach someone through the handling of an objection by getting them to see the truth. So it goes back to the truth. All roads lead to the truth. And if the truth is your product is not right for them, then you shouldn't sell them anyways. But if the truth is that they need this is the right thing to do, then you do them a disservice by not selling them the product. So
Yeah.
what do you think about that?
Yeah. I love that. I love that. The way I think about objections and something that high ticket sales professionals definitely need to understand is that closing doesn't begin until the prospect says no. Okay? Everything other than that is a sale. So that's the
Mhm.
way it was taught to me. If the prospect says yes to the offer, then that's a sale. Good. Sales are good. Closing is the art of getting to the yes. The closing that we teach, the high end luxury closing, is the art of getting to the yes. Now, questions is exactly how we do this. One of the things that I want everybody to write down is that closing takes time. Sales can be done in no time. Sales can be, they come on, they're already closed. They're like, how much is it going to cost? And then you're out of there. But closing oftentimes requires a shifting in perspective. And the perspective that you're shifting is oftentimes one that they've been building up in their head. They've got a narrative going. They've told themselves all the reasons why they are stuck. And master closers are people that are patient enough and love the prospect enough to listen well enough to understand their narrative. Most people aren't closing the deals that they want to close because they're in a rush.
Mhm.
They're in a rush. I remember Shaan telling me, he asked me, how long are you spending on these calls? Because you're not closing at the rate that you should be with the skill level that you have. I said, I mean, I'm on these calls for like an hour. If they ain't got the bread in an hour, I'm gone. 45 minutes, even better. He's like, Bobby, you have to love them. You have to love them. And I was like, I do love them, a little bit aggressively. What do you mean I don't love them? He's like, you've got to love them enough to be patient with them, to ask them the right questions, to ask them the hard questions, to wait for them to come to the realization. You have to be patient enough and love them enough to watch them blow up on you. And then you still ask the question, the next question, in a professional and courteous tone because they're frustrated, angry, unhappy, in pain. The only reason they're on the call is because they're in pain. And most times we don't go deep enough because we feel like the close should happen in 30 minutes or the close should happen in an hour. But some of the biggest deals, and the bigger the deal, normally from the research that I've been doing in my personal experience, the bigger the deal at times, the longer it takes to close it. And this isn't always the truth, but I want you to think about it like this: a multi-million dollar real estate property, like you're about to buy this whole thing, you're probably going to be working on that deal for maybe a week because you're going to have to send things out. You're going to have to talk to people. You're going to have to do all these different things. Lawyers get involved, all these people. The bigger the deal, sometimes the longer it takes. So what I want you to think about when it comes to high ticket closing is that you're not trying to sell 100 people. Because if you try to sell 100 people and you're on 3-hour calls, it's not going to work. So you really got to get the psychology right. So high ticket sales is selling to the what we call the HNWI, high net worth individual. So when you're branded properly and you position yourself in the marketplace, this is also objections, guys. We're talking about objections. When you are branded properly and you're positioned in the marketplace effectively, then you should be attracting your ideal client. If your ideal client is a high net worth individual, then this individual is experienced and it's not their first rodeo. It's not their first time spending money. And if it's not their first rodeo and it's not their first time spending money, then they definitely lost money. It's happened because there's no way you become a good investor without first being a new investor. And new investors lose money. So if you are in the business of high ticket sales, you're in the business of collecting large sums of money with the expectation of delivering a premium result. Now, they've tried to get this problem solved in the past. You're probably not always going to be the first solution. So patience is key to handling objections because you're going to have to let them tell you where they've been so that you can show them how to go. And that's going to take time. So you have to be personable, relaxed, free, easygoing, friendly, because you are getting them to tell you where they've been. And normally these high net worth individuals are bombarded by people that aren't necessarily luxury sales professionals. They're bombarded by people that see them having money and are trying to take it. So when they get on the call, they may be defensive. Like, I don't know. You're the next guy, just the next guy. But when you do what Junior's talking about and you get no objections, it's probably because you know what Junior knows, which is this person has probably been burned before. This person probably has money that they don't want to spend, but they definitely can spend. They have a problem that they had for a long time. And if I don't know how they're thinking about this problem, I'm not going to be able to navigate them around it. All of these things Junior understands. So I've seen Junior actually on a closing call before, and he was doing some training, and the first 15 minutes was catching up. How you doing? How's the son? How are the kids? What's going on? He's a friend. And because he's a friend, they feel comfortable. And once they feel comfortable and you build the rapport, then you can close the deal. But you can't close the deal if you do not establish trust. So when it comes to high ticket sales, my perspective on handling objections is really one, being a master communicator, asking the right questions, but two, being patient enough to allow the prospect to reveal themselves to you, and then being courageous enough to turn up the pain axis, and then being patient enough for the pain to set in and for reality to set in so that you can show them the bridge. Because every prospect wants transformation or teleportation out of where their pain is. They want to get out. They want to get to the other side. They're expecting you to be patient enough to get them there. That's my perspective on that, Junior.
Yeah. So I agree with everything you just said. Now I wanna focus into an area here. Let's dive into the beginning of the call because you said something. You said you said something about me there. Being a friend. It's true. I mean, it's very interesting, Bobby, because on these calls, I'm actually not even really thinking about the sale, to be honest. I'm really not. I'm just literally thinking about how can I help the person that I'm talking to. So I guess if I have to consciously analyze that, I would say the first 2 minutes of the interaction is the most important time. And let me tell you why. In the first 2 minutes is basically where somebody decides whether or not they like you or not. The first 2 minutes. So you have to learn how to master the first 2 minutes of the call. Okay, so how do you master the first 2 minutes of the call? Well, there are a couple ways you could master it. No one thing, like it's not one thing. Okay, so number one, what is your energy like? Like we spoke about winning energy. So when you jump on a call, what is the winning energy like? Okay, if you don't have any winning energy coming in, then you've already lost. Like you've already set up the objection for the end of the call before you get into the call. I'm serious. Like by the time you jump in, so I might get on a call. I might say, "Hey, what's up?" I see the person. Let's say I'm talking to somebody named, let's say Joy. When I jump on the call, I say, "Hey, Joy, what's going on? How's everything going with you?" Joy might have a couple of things going on. She might be doing various things, and we're just talking like, "Where are you from?" Da, 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 da. We just get into some simple conversation, and then finally, I'll say, "Okay, Joy, well, let's get into it, Joy." So, and then I'll introduce myself formally, and then I will set the agenda for the call. So by the first 2 minutes, people have already decided, okay, I kind of like this guy. I think he's professional. I mean, I show up to the call well dressed. And you know what somebody said to me? They said to me that they like the fact that when you come to a call, you dress properly because it shows that you actually care. Like you cared enough to get dressed properly, to show up for a meeting with me. It says a lot. And prospects are very, what's the word I'm looking for? The word I'm looking for is they're very perceptive. So it's like, okay, if this guy is professional on our first interaction, he's most likely going to be professional when he delivers the service. So if you're not professional in the first 2 minutes, they can probably correctly deduce that you're probably not going to be professional when you actually make the sale. So mastering the first 2 minutes is all about mastering the energy, mastering the interaction, mastering the greeting. So the greeting. So I might jump on a call. I might say, "Hey, Bobby, how you doing, man? Hope you're having the best day of your life. What brought you to the call today?" You give them a compliment. You infuse the energy. I got on a call with a lady the other day. I said, "Hey," and I think her name was Sharon. I said, "Hey, Sharon, before we get into it, let me just tell you, I just love your energy. You just come across to me as somebody that's super positive, and I absolutely love that." Boom, instantly. And this was actually sincere. I thought she had really good energy because when you talk to people all day, Bobby, you get people with all kinds of energy. Like some people are down, some people are tired, some people are like, huh. But then every now and then you get someone who has good energy. And I noticed that and I said that. And immediately Sharon was like, "I kind of like this guy." Right. So mastering the first 2 minutes is one of the ways to literally obliterate any objections because all objections come from a lack of trust. Lack of a trust in the salesperson, lack of a trust in the product, lack of trust in the company, lack of trust in the agreement, and then lack of trust in themselves, which is the five levels of trust. The next thing I do to sort of eliminate objections is actually in the closing. So there's different methods of closing. Sales and closing are two different things. Now, in selling, if you go to closing like a leader, there's a particular process in closing like a leader where Shaan teaches you how to sell. You go through a certain discovery process, similar to a coaching process that Bobby's talking about, okay? Where you ask the prospect a series of questions to correctly get to the bottom of what they're struggling with, how long have they been struggling with this problem, what is the cost of inaction. So there's a cost of investment, also the cost of inaction. What is the pain axis? What is the bridge? What's going to actually take them to where they need to go? But when you get through all of that now you have to close. So how do you close? So at that point, Bobby, once you've done the needs analysis, once you've selected the product, once you've correctly assessed the pain and all of that, you've created the vision for the future. Now you need to close. How do you close? There's different methods of closing. Okay, I'll give you one. I think we only have time for one, right? Yeah, only time for one. We have like 1 minute, so I'll give you one. Okay, so this is what I do, and everybody write this down. Write down, this is a framework. Write down story. So, story, strategy, tactics, and success stories. So story, strategy, tactics, success story. So what is story? Story is your story. Like, what is your story? How did you even get into this space? So if I'm like Dr. Michelle and I'm closing for, Lift After Breast Cancer Services, I'm telling my story. Like, how did I even get here? So Dr. Michelle has an amazing story. So she tells a story. When she correctly deduces the problem, she tells a quick 5-minute story. Okay, so how did you even get here? What's your story? And once you've given your story, okay, which builds instant rapport and trust, you've covered number one, trust in the salesperson. You go into the strategy. So the strategy is a high level overview of the specific strategy that they need to get to where they want to go. So the bridge, like Bobby talks about, what is the bridge? How can you give them a 50,000-foot view of what they need? So one thing I always do, I'll say, you have pen and paper? Say yes. I'll say, okay, I want you to write this down. This is exactly, write down strategy. This is exactly the specific steps that we're going to take to get you to where you want to get to. So if somebody says, I need to attract leads, I'll say, write this down. Here's how we're going to get you leads. Number one, you're going to build your brand. You're going to optimize your social media. That's number one. Number two, once you've optimized the social media, we need to get you the right brand assets. So you have a website, but the website doesn't correctly express your positioning. You don't have the social media assets to correctly back what you're doing. Number three, we're going to create a lead magnet. And then number four, we're going to connect the CRM and start driving traffic. So we'll go through the steps. We'll go through the high level overview. Then I'll say to them, does this make sense? Yes. Boom. At that point, you've handled the objection of the product. Okay. Number three, the tactics. So write down tactics. Tactics are what are the specific assets that you need. Okay. So you need a landing page. You need a website. You need social media photos. You need a new banner. You need new bio. So we will list out every single thing you need. Okay. Once we have the tactics, then I go into the success story. So who are some people just like you that have gone down this path, that have taken my specific strategy that I just gave to you, and that have come out on the other side successful? I give them one example, two examples, three examples. And all while I'm talking, I'm saying these people were just like you. They had this same problem. They followed this same strategy. They acquired the same assets that I just told you about. And now that they have the website, now that they have the social media, now that they have the lead magnet, now that they have the CRM, and they followed these steps, they were able to get to the sale. At that point, you've handled the objection of the person, which is you, salesperson, with your story, objection of the product, objection of the company, because you've shown success stories, objection of the strategy, and now the only objection is, are you going to be an excuse maker or an action taker? Which is the objection of themselves. Once you've done those things, Bobby, if you get any objections, it'll be something very small that you could usually just explain away. So that's how I do it, guys. So I hope hopefully this helps. If you found value from this episode, put some flames in the chat. I wish we had an opportunity to talk about more. Bobby, maybe tomorrow show we could get into a little bit more because I have so much to share. But put some flames in the chat if that worked for you. And if you want to learn more, leadership leverage. The leadership leverage is where I'll be talking a lot more about that. If you don't know what the leadership leverage is, go to www.shawnrais.com and figure out how to get in. Book a call with somebody somewhere. And by the way, my members of the leverage, just put it in the chat. Like we're delivering crazy value.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I gave away something that's worth at least 50K per year, 50 to 60K per year for free. Okay? For free, 100% free. I don't want any money back. Use it for your business, make some money, come back and tell me it worked. That's all. If you want more value, come inside the leverage, come inside the academy. That's where you'll get it. Go to www.shawnrise.com, book a call with somebody, and figure out how to get in. Bobby, any final comments?
Man, crazy call. My closing comment would be this. Jumping into entrepreneurship is rarely a good idea. Transitioning into entrepreneurship is an excellent idea. The difference between the two is one person emotionally leaves their job erratically, makes a wild decision, and maxes out all their credit cards and is just frailing, trying to figure out where the next dollar is going to come from. Have all the education, experience, and expertise, and they're still just not getting it. That's jumping into entrepreneurship. Now, transitioning to entrepreneurship is making a decision to be a business owner, getting the help you need to make the transition from W-2 to self-employed successfully, making large investments while you actually have an income or a nice sizable savings or retirement, and then building the business assets as you build yourself, so that when you transition into entrepreneurship properly, you make enough money in your business on the side to replace your current income. That's one of the smartest ways to do it, because you can do both. Like the way we teach it, you can run a business and have a job. Granted, the goal is to make as much money as possible, have the biggest impact possible, have all of the things possible. So eventually you have to leave the job to dedicate more time to the business. However, the way we teach it, you can make six figures and multiple six figures on the side. And then when you've hit that multiple six figures in your business, give them your walking papers and take your business from multiple six figures to seven. That is my closing remarks, is that you do this and you come in while you're in the best position to grow and sustain and learn, your transition will be smooth, easy, and well worth it.
Thank you guys. Have a phenomenal Friday. We will see you tomorrow. Let's grow.
Let's grow.